Hello, everyone. It's Julianna LeMieux coming to you again from the AACR meeting, and again with my colleague, Damian Doherty. Damian, how's it going?
Doing really well. How are you?
Good. Good. Yeah, it's been a good meeting, right?
Great meeting.
It's been a great meeting.
Great meeting. Yeah. And the show floor is still really busy.
Yeah, we should say we're coming to you today from our booth on the expo floor, and totally agree. It's just like day one.
Yeah, loads of traffic still, which is very heartening at this stage.
Yeah.
So yeah, fantastic.
And so we should start with what we did last night, right?
Uh-huh.
I think the highlight was that we had a great team dinner. Jen and IPM teams went out to dinner, and it's so nice to be able to come together because, we live in so many different places. So it's great to just take that opportunity to kind of just get together and hang out a little bit.
Definitely. Yeah. In a world of operating, as you say, in different locations, it's really great just to meet colleagues and to chat about what's going on. So really good last night.
And since the video yesterday, I know I think you have both been talking to a lot of companies and doing a lot of more industry focused, conversations. So maybe I can start because I had a nice conversation yesterday with Julianna LeMieux, so the CEO of Ultima Genomics, a company we've covered for years, since they launched. So an NGS company. And I talked to them because they have news this week along with 10x Genomics and the ARC Institute about a collaboration going on there. And actually, we talked about the collaboration and the excitement surrounding that, but also about the general growing trend that we've been covering at Gen, now for a while, about how the lowering cost of sequencing is really opening up single cell RNA-seq, single cell genomics, in a way that is, he was saying it's kind of the combination of sequencing coming down, single cell also coming down, and also AI. And so, there are these huge projects going on. First there was 100 million cell project, and then the billion cell project. Now there's this new one from the ARC Institute. I don't think they have a name on the number of cells, but a lot. And the whole idea is basically to train AI more in the single cell field. So that was great to check in with him about that and just to talk more. I always like to talk about sequencing. So just talking about it in that space and in the cancer space as well.
Yeah, that's great.
So that was nice. How about yourself? Who did you talk to yesterday?
Yeah, so I went to see a liquid biopsy play, company called FIRE, FYR, based out of Montana, or places actually. It's a really great company to go and visit, beautiful part of the world. And they just made a big announcement in terms of a partnership with Mayo Clinic.
Okay.
And their technology is EVs, extracellular vesicles. They have a platform that can go in and really, very sensitive platform that can go in and measure. There's always been a signal to noise issue with extracellular vesicles. A lot of these cell particles that the cells secrete have no origin of disease. So there's been that noise, but there's other vesicles that do have origin of disease, but it's trying to separate, as I said, sitting from the noise, and their technology can go in and separate that. So they're finding that these vesicles carry, they carry RNA, they carry proteins. With a combination of that knowledge, they can start to look at disease mechanisms at a much more high definition. So they're working with the Mayo Clinic on Parkinson's, which has historically been, single biomarkers. Ultimately, it's like a multi-omics play. They're going deeper. They're using a more holistic approach to try and get more information about these EVs. So with their platform, they're able to go in a bit deeper. But they're going to be looking across many different diseases. But this particular announcement with Mayo was a big move for them. So so saw them, and that was great. And in fact, we covered the story just coincidentally yesterday. Jonathan did a piece. So if you want more information on that, certainly check out yesterday's news, I think it was, and Jonathan does a great article on delving into the companies to some of that future aspirations. So,
Another thing I learned about yesterday was I swung by the booth, and I'm just going to pull up my notes because I swung by the booth on Cancer Grand Challenges.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's this really international funding agency to tackle, appropriately, the grand challenges going on in cancer. And so they fund interdisciplinary teams, but it's a ton of money. It's $25 million grants.
Yeah.
And, especially in today's day and age, these big projects and the funding of these big projects that are really supposed to move things forward in a really, in a big step kind of way. So the grand challenges, which they announced not at the meeting, I think it was about a month ago, But the topics are, I thought so interesting. AI, human collaborations in cancer, cancer avoidance, rewriting cancer cells, the nervous system in cancer, the dark proteome, mechanisms behind mutational signatures, and tumor microenvironment dynamics. And so those are like their 7 new challenges just announced about a month ago. It's the funding applications open till a couple more months, I think maybe June. And so that was really interesting just to get, and actually it's interesting because in some of the talks I heard yesterday, they would say, and on their funding slide, oh, we have money from cancer grant challenges. And I didn't really know exactly what that was. So I was really happy to learn about that yesterday. And I really want to follow those projects going forward.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Like in the plenary, one of them was a cancer grand challenge funded project. So anyway, that was a really cool thing and it's one of the reasons I love coming to the meeting because, you just get to bump into things like that you wouldn't necessarily, but just learn about them. And now we'll cover them and Jen and cover those projects. I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Good. What else? I went to see a company called Biomodal. Now,
Yes.
Biomodal, if you don't know, they've rebranded recently. They were Cambridge Epigenetics.
Yeah.
To give you a little bit of historical context, Cambridge Epigenetics was founded by Sir Shankar Subramanian, who is a pioneer in DNA methylation and epigenetics. And of course, he was one of the scientific co-founders of that company called Celexa. We all know where that story went. So they're doing some amazing things. We've always looked at the 4 canonical bases, and they're now looking at the 6 base genome, those extra 2 bases, the 5MC and the 5HMC, which have been a little bit, there's been a bit lack of understanding in terms of what those 2 extra bases do. But now they're using a very powerful technology to sort of take that extra layer of information, look at the DNA methylation, the epigenetic modifications, and they're using that to look at treatment response. So at the moment, they're doing a lot of work in colorectal cancer. They had a preprint this week that really blew up, and a poster that ran yesterday. And according to the guy said that the queues went round the corner. So it was quite a sort of an aha moment. So they're very excited. There's a lot of follow up to be done on that. But so they're a company definitely to keep an eye on. I think they're doing some great work. So that was good. Something I think we'll probably pursue and carry on covering.
Yeah. I did something a little different too, which is I'm going to move away from industry stuff for a second. But I had a conversation this morning with Norbert Kraut, who's at Boehringer Ingelheim, has been there a long time, leader in the cancer drug development space. And so really, one thing I really do love doing when I'm here at AACR is to hop into the clinical trial plenaries because they are amazing, and that is really where you find stories that are like treatment changing. This is like patients are going to get new drugs because of those data that are being presented up here. So one of the kind of big splashy news stories from yesterday was a drug, and I have to look at the name of it because cancer drugs are don't just roll off my tongue. Zongertinib.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he and his team were part of Boehringer were leading this, and so it was the paper was published in New England Journal of Medicine at the same time it was presented yesterday in the clinical trial. And there's just a ton of excitement about this drug, and it's for HER2 mutant non-small cell lung cancer. And so this is a cancer that just really has so few treatments, like many cancers, that And so, but they had just great results, great data in their clinical trial. And so there was a lot of excitement around that. And so I think it's, needs to go through FDA approval, but so that was something kind of new for me. Cover like a specific cancer drug. Not something we necessarily do a lot of, but it's interesting to, as we talked about yesterday in that interdisciplinary nature, it's also nice for us to be able to touch on different parts of what's going on in cancer. So
absolutely. Yeah. That's the beauty about the show. It's coming out of many different.
I thought we should just take advantage of that a little bit,
While you're here, why not?
Yeah.
Do something a wee bit different.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Yeah, I also went to see a company, again, another liquid biopsy play.
Okay.
Company that's sort of spun out from a company called Billion to One.
Oh, yeah.
Which you probably know about.
Yeah.
Called North Star, and it's really evolution of a a liquid biopsy test that was used in the prenatal space. Very, very sensitive, very low sensitivity. And they found that that had great applications to oncology. And they have two arms to that. They're basically looking at treatment response, not quite MRD, but looking at selecting the right therapy first of all with one of their liquid biopsy tissue-free tests, and then they have a response where they look at response with the therapy, and they're getting some amazing data, amazing results. Very, very sensitive. And I think they just had CMS organization. So yeah, they're doing some great stuff. So yeah, seeing that a lot of liquid biopsy stuff, a lot of DNA methylation, a lot of multimodal. That seems to be the classic sort of theme, and of course, it's going to become more and more of that because we have to look at this from a multi-dimensional perspective.
Yeah,
we can no longer look at just one single dimensional. We have to look at multiple analytes in parallel, in tandem, to get as much of that holistic information as we can.
yeah. Well, and prevention and detection is just huge here. You know, absolutely. So yeah, super important. Well, all right. I mean, I guess you're kind of almost on your way. I'm going to spend the afternoon. I have plans to go to the Brooker Spotlight on spatial. Yeah. So looking forward to that. In fact, you can see our cover. Well, it's right behind me. So that's for our April issues about spatial. So, you know, that's kind of like coming home. It's just in the space, just talking about spatial, you know, that'll be a nice thing. Yeah. And then we'll wrap up and, be done. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to do another couple of hours, walk around, see if I can see some new companies, speak to some old friends, and and then I'll be shipping out. But a great show. It's been a great fun, and it's been great to get back out to AACR.
All right. Well, yeah, it's been great to have you here. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining our video chats. And this is our last video chat from AACR. But I will say that in about 2 weeks, I'm headed to ASGCT. So we'll be coming to you with Kevin Davis from the floor of ASGCT. So see you then.
Cheers.